Alright, CNT120, we are on our Chapter 3 lab. So reminder, make sure from our D2L page, we're on the Chapter 3 section, we're in the Do area. Scroll down here to the online lab, download the lab direction page. When you open that, do file download as PDF kind of thing. That's what I have here. If you have two monitors, maybe you slide this on one monitor so you have a little bit more workspace. Then download your packet tracer file. And once you do that, it usually works best if you open Packet Tracer and then use the folder here, browse for that file from your downloads folder, and then open it up from there. What you'll see is I have already downloaded our lab direction page, and I already have the Packet Tracer file open and ready to roll. So back here on my browser, here's the podcast of us going through the lab. I'm just going to minimize that. All right, we are going to, for this lab, the addresses you read about, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, application layer, we're going to look at all of those and try to, as I say, get our fingers on those to try them and see them in action, if you will. So this first section, we're going to be focusing on the data link layer, our MAC address on some PCs in our network. So again, I have my directions downloaded, I have the packet tracer file downloaded, I have them open, and I'm ready to go. So we're going to, here for the first part, look at our MAC address. Remember, that's the address burned into our network card on all of the devices on our network. So I'm going to take a look at our packet tracer file here. We have the typical Harrisburg to Philadelphia network. If I were to look at the Philadelphia or the physical side, I would see the two cities here connected. We don't actually need to worry too much about the physical this time. We can work almost entirely in the logical view for this lab. So we don't have to worry too much about the physical side this time. We're going to start on the Philadelphia side, and we're going to look at the Philadelphia PC, and we're going to look at its MAC address. So I'm going to open the desktop here in the command prompt and take a look at the MAC address. So Philadelphia PC, open the PC here. I'm going to go to the desktop. I'm going to open up my command prompt. And from the command prompt, if I do an ipconfig /all, watch your syntax, I will get the result of my network configuration. The main piece being that we're looking at right now is this top line here, this physical address. This is the MAC address of this PC in the network. That's identifying that PC in the network. And more specifically, if you remember from our Chapter 3 review, that is how this switch here knows to pass data to this PC as opposed to this one over here or these servers over here. It learned that this MAC address is attached to this port, so it'll pass data to this PC only out this port based on its MAC address. So that's the first thing we're taking note of. We'll also note that we see some IP addressing information here. We're going to come back to that in later parts of the lab and pay attention to that and even make changes to that as time goes on. Let's make note that we have this address here ending in C52B kind of thing. I'm going to close this out and let's go to the Philadelphia laptop and do the same thing. Philadelphia laptop, desktop, command prompt, ipconfig /all. Here, if I take a look, here's the physical address, here's the MAC address. As I look at this guy here, it does end differently. So these are unique hexadecimal numbers to identify these computers in the network. If I were to repeat this to the other PCs, again, I would see unique addresses on each one of these. Each one of these getting unique hexadecimal MAC address to identify it. Okay, so I have the laptop here. Let's do now a ping between the laptop. We're going to ping from the, we're going to locate the Philadelphia laptop. We're going to open its desktop, open the command prompt, and we're going to ping to the Philadelphia PC. And then we're hopefully going to be looking at the packet data here and looking at our MAC address or our Ethernet header, if you will. So the Philadelphia PC, if I hold my pointer over, should be 192.168.30.10. If I look kind of there off to the left side, I'll see the address. IP address is 192.168.30.10. So I'm going to, from my Philadelphia laptop, open up the command prompt again. I'm going to do ping 192.168.30.10. That's the address of the Philadelphia PC. And I should get some successful replies. If I do not, watch for typos, check for typos, make sure I have the right command and IP address in there to get a successful one. I should be getting these successful replies here. Now, just to make my screen a little cleaner, I'm going to close this. We can always come back to it. And I'm now going to open the packet sniffer that's over here on this side of the network, and I'm going to look for some ICMP data. So I'm going to open the sniffer over here. I'm going to slide this over. I'm going to go to the GUI tab, and in here I should see some ICMP data, which I do. I'm going to highlight one of these. I don't really have to worry too much about which one at this point. I'll just do the first one for simplicity. I'm going to make this a little bit larger, and what I want to look at is I want to look in here at my headers, my ICMP, there's my ICMP data. I want to look specifically at the Ethernet header, and I want to look at the address fields. So here's my Ethernet header, preamble, starter frame delimiter, destination address, source address. So if I scroll this over, let me make this a little bit wider. There we go. The destination address was C52B, and the source address was 9EDA. So this should be my laptop to my PC1. And if I come over here and hold my pointer over the laptop, I should see 9EDA as the source. So I'm going to hold my pointer over the laptop, and it should have over there on the far right, you'll see under the MAC address, the first line is the fast Ethernet 0. I see it as 9EDA. That is the MAC address of the laptop. That was the source. Now I'm going to hold the pointer over the other one, and I should see the destination as C52B. I'll hold it over to the Philadelphia PC, and I'll look over to the far right, C25B. There it is. Actually, C52B. I think I said that backwards. But that is the destination MAC address. So our ping was going from here to there, and my sniffer capturing that data showed me here was the destination address, where it was going to and where it came from. Those are my Ethernet addresses, and in this case, this ICMP packet was using those to get it from this PC here, this laptop here, to this switch, to this PC over here. And the switch was reading those, where it's coming from, and where it's going to send it out just this port. So there's my Ethernet header, and those MAC addresses showing up in there. Now, before we go any further, let's capture this data. We need to start our text file for this lab. So I'm going to open up my Notepad, text editor, whatever you have on your system. And I'll put a note here, CNT120, Chapter 3 Lab, something of that effect. And I'm going to put in here, this is the Layer 2 part of our lab. So I'll put a note that this is the Layer 2 portion, something of that effect. And there's two pieces of information I need to gather. I need to gather the contents of the Ethernet header source address field and Ethernet header destination address field. So what I'll do here is, just to make my life a little easier, I will put over here the source address field, and then right below it I'll put the destination address field. And then I can just fill those in. I can fill those in with what I got. Now, before I go too much further, I'm going to do a file save as. I'm going to save my file here. And I'm going to go to my documents folder, and I should have a chapter 3 lab. There we go. I have it right there. And I'm going to call this 120 chapter 3 lab, something of that effect. And I'm going to leave that .txt file extension there. Okay, so I have my file created. I have some labels in here so I know. Now I need the source address field, which is right here. This is the source address field. And I'm just going to copy this MAC address, and I can copy it, and I can right click copy. Come over here and I can paste it in. That was the source field. Now I can come over here to the destination address field. Highlight that. Right click copy. Come over here and paste that in as well. I can clean them up. And what it basically shows is the laptop MAC address going to the Philadelphia PC MAC address is what it's really showing. And I will save that. That's my layer 2 portion of my lab. So now that I have those, again, make sure you save your file. You know, CNT120 chapter 3 lab, something like that. Make sure you have the .txt file extension. I'm going to save that. I'm just going to minimize it to keep it handy. And we have looked at the MAC address on each of the PCs over here. And if I were to go over to this side here and open up the desktop and do, nope, I don't want the web browser. Excuse me. Oh, you can do it. Let me close that out. Open up the command prompt, ipconfig/all. There is the MAC address of this PC over here. And you notice they are all unique. So there's our layer 2 MAC address for this lab. We'll come back to the next part and work on IP4.